Good day. My name is Diana Lynch, and I am super excited to come to you today to talk with you about investing abroad. I am the only African American female CEO of an international development company located in Dominican Republic, and we are the first owners and operators of a golf course in the international space. So I not only come to you from a point of just passion, but also from a point of personal experiences that I'd like to share with you today. And in this time together, I hope that you'll get your questions answered, many of which I had not too long ago about investing abroad. I fashioned myself as a pretty savvy investor all my life. I have been practicing as an attorney for 3 decades and retired in 2022 to devote my time exclusively to development and investing abroad. But before then, I really savvied myself as a learned investor. And it wasn't until I started to explore opportunities abroad that I was able to really learn and glean all of the opportunities, financial and otherwise, that I was missing out on by actually just closing my mind to other opportunities and not being willing to diversify my portfolio, not being willing to learn about other ways that I can make money. If you're like me, many of you have all of your life thought that you would work a job or get a career, you would buy a home, you would invest in the stock market and pray that nothing would uproot your plans to retire at a reasonable age. And before 9/11, I think many people were accustomed to investing in the stock market, understanding that that would mean some ups and downs. But by and large, historically, you would have a return upon retirement. After investing 2 or 3 decades, you would have an opportunity to live at least a comfortable life if you were prudent in investing throughout your career. I too subscribe to that model. And it wasn't until 9/11, to no fault of my own. I was being a good steward. I was investing as everyone had told me I should invest. As a lawyer, I had some disposable income. I was blessed enough to be able to consistently invest in the stock market. And unbeknownst to me, an event, while catastrophic to me personally, and many of us, and all of us actually here in the US, it hit home financially as well. The losses that I sustained after 9/11, I am only just attempting to recover from them, to find out that most recently a war in Ukraine with Russia would yet again uproot my plans for retirement and investing responsibly in the stock market. I remember not only in 9/11, but most recently, when the events of Ukraine occurred, I contacted my fund manager and I said, well, what are we to do? And I got the same story that I got after 9/11, which is, don't get on the sideline, leave your money in the market, and it will eventually recover. And I felt like I did in 9/11, very helpless, hopeless, helpless, really kind of at the mercy of things and happenings that occurred halfway around the world in this instance. And I just wanted to take better control of what my investment future looked like, what my retirement looked like. And so after 9/11, I was so dismayed by the market. I realized that for myself, at least, I needed passive income. As an attorney for over 2 decades, it was important for me, and my business model, most attorneys bill based on an hourly rate, and I was one of those. So when I wasn't working, I wasn't making money, except for the fortunate times when I had individuals, other associates that work for me. Other than that, I can only make but so much an hour because there were only so many hours in a day. So I realized that I needed to find a stream of income that would be making money when I was not physically able to do so, because I wanted to vacation or because I wanted to do other things that interest me. And God forbid, at one point when I would become unable to work an hourly wage. So I needed to have a plan, and real estate was my plan. So after 9/11, I sought out real estate investment opportunities stateside. Those were the things I could touch and feel and could understand and appreciate. And so I sought out obtaining rental properties in the United States, most very close to home, some around college campuses, because as a student and growing up near HBCUs and various other institutions, I understood that there was some opportunity to make money off of college housing. And I was able to secure housing at many of the, actually over three HBCUs, and was able to lease these residences out to students. That provided a stream of income for me. And that was kind of the entree into investing in real estate. And so as the years progress, I continue to build a portfolio for investing in real estate. So why it never occurred to me to explore the opportunity to invest abroad is unbeknownst to me. It wasn't until many individuals started coming out that looked like me and I identified with, especially African-American females who were calling themselves expats. And while I would travel extensively, I did not make any money when I traveled. And while I loved it, it was not an income generating opportunity for me. In fact, most of the time when I worked for the opportunity to travel so that I can afford the opportunity to travel, but it never occurred to me to make money from traveling. And so when I started looking into individuals and learning of mainly African-American females like myself who are making their way into other countries and investing abroad and living abroad and working abroad, I wanted to know a little bit about what that looked like. And I think not only did 9/11 provide a shot in the arm, my left arm, with the losses that I sustained, COVID provided a shot in my right arm to give me the boost that I needed to say, okay, stop sitting on the sidelines. Let's figure out a way, Diana, after 3 decades of working and practicing and being a good steward and investing in the market, can you retire today? Can you live without working and charging an hourly wage from being an attorney? And I wasn't really sure that I could do that. And I really couldn't see a future in my recent or distant future where that would be possible, where I could sustain the level of my lifestyle. And so I just needed to learn a little bit about why my colleagues, these female, African-American female wonders, these amazing women were actually winning by investing abroad. And it wasn't by any sort of happenstance that I landed myself in the Dominican Republic. And when going there just to travel, I understood after decade after decade of investing in the US and then traveling to and bringing nothing back of any sort of tangible value when I traveled. I just saw it was as an expense for my lifestyle. And these women were showing me a different way to do it, where I could actually own, not timeshare, but own abroad and actually provide residual income for me. And I think the market with the short-term rentals and Airbnb and all those other streams of income that people were, winning, created a comfort level for many of us and should for you as to the business model of actually owning property and actually instead of having a lease tenant where they have a lease for 12 months or more, where they do short-term rentals and they may rent from you day to day, week to week, month to month, and you actually as the owner can allow this as an opportunity for you to have that property pay for itself. And that alone would have made me incredibly happy to actually have an asset where it would take care of itself and then I could enjoy it when I wanted to enjoy it, not like a timeshare where I was restricted to a week, or I never could own it outright or sell it when you got ready to sell it because nobody wants to buy a timeshare. And it felt like a trap, a check that I had to write every year, as opposed to an appreciable asset that I could pass on from generation to generation. And it would annoy me to no end as I was involved actively in civic organizations, my sorority, I'm a former JAG officer. We would meet with annually at conferences and conventions. As a lawyer and a Black entertainment lawyer, we would meet and spend thousands of dollars at various conferences, at various hotels around the world. And while I enjoyed immensely, they never contributed back to the organization. Only thing I brought back after spending weeks and thousands of dollars in these places were pictures, memories. And while they were valuable, they did not add to my portfolio. And so I felt like I needed to explore what these wonderful women primarily were experiencing as expats. And so I want to share with you, so that is the why of this conference today, or this meeting today. I want to tell you that is the why I decided to do and research international investing, and why I'm coming to you today for you to explore it as another alternative to traditional investing. In fact, when I speak at various conferences, I call it not your grandmother's investment strategy. And as a lawyer, an estate planner, one that is licensed in various sorts of investment, mainly insurance products. This just provided another avenue. And while I would never provide you any sort of financial or investing advice, I do say, definitely take an opportunity to speak with your fund manager, speak with those people who advise you in investing, and see where you may be able to, surprisingly enough, find assets that you hadn't thought about that are sitting on the sideline, that's not making you any money, any substantial return, and that you will have access, or can have access to now, to be able to diversify and to put your money into various other resources that could generate not income in the future, not only income in the future, not only a generational wealth, not only something you can pass to your children and your children's children, but can provide you present income, disposable income for your own use. And so we're gonna wander down this road and learn how it is that you can invest abroad. And so what I would like to, we've already discussed the why of the conversation. Let's talk about the who. Who would be the ideal person to invest abroad? I would say anyone. While mainly African-American females have flooded the market as expats, mainly professional women who find it and that they can not only invest abroad, but live abroad and work remotely. COVID provided an opportunity for we as a culture, not just even as a nation, but as a culture and a world where we realize that we don't have to have brick and mortar. We don't have to have the large overhead of major office buildings and that sort of thing. We can work more productively anywhere. And that was not something that corporate America accepted at one point. In fact, as a lawyer, unless I was going into the courtroom every other week or several times a week and talking to the judge and sitting in a calendar call with 50 other attorneys for 3 hours waiting for the 10 minutes that I have an opportunity to express my concerns before the court, I would not have fathomed a time where we could have been as efficient as we have been in COVID, where we are through Zoom and various other technology, team meetings and those sorts of things, we're able to be as productive and conduct business. And as a result, I was not tied to being present at a calendar call in any particular courthouse. So that was very freeing for me. And for many of you, it may be a similar scenario where you have now the opportunity to work from anywhere, not to mention all of our entrepreneurs who work and historically work from anywhere. They work from home, they work in conferences and coffee houses around the world, and they meet and they are very productive. Our newer generation business owner, an entrepreneur, they're not tied to four walls. And I am so impressed with them. But they have taught me that while my profession is very conservative and there was a way that it was always done, that is not necessarily the most efficient way. In fact, many times in the last year or so of working and as a lawyer, when I was hauled into court, I questioned, why did I have to go to court when you could see me on Zoom? And so many of my colleagues felt the same way, and we are transitioning even post-COVID. And I don't know that I use that correctly, because is it really post-COVID? But the post-COVID era, if I am to use that term loosely, has really presented some different opportunities for us to work anywhere. So that is the who. You are the who. You as a business owner and as a corporate executive, if you are afforded the opportunity to work from anywhere, you could be an expat. But not only those individuals who can work and travel anywhere, those individuals like myself, I don't have the luxury of being out of the country the lion's share of the year. However, I wanted an opportunity when I did wish to travel, when I wanted to travel with my friends and colleagues and sorority sisters or whatever, family reunions, conferences, conventions. I wanted to have an opportunity to travel somewhere that welcomed me, but that also I had a financial interest in. And unfortunately, many of the opportunities within the United States for investing in luxury and or communities where the income generating opportunities or short-term rentals are plentiful, like near the water at the beach, Hilton Head, Martha's Vineyard, various other places that I've frequented as a tourist. It was just not feasible for me to get into that market now, because it was a well-established market. And to get into a market that's well-established means that the price points are higher. And so the margins that I needed to be able to, in this fourth quarter of my life, be able to capitalize on just weren't there. I mean, certainly if I was at 25 and I could have gotten in on some opportunities then, and been able to sit on it for several years before retirement, I probably would have found some of those other pockets in the United States very feasible for me to invest in and pay down enough to be able to enjoy in these later years of my life. However, that was not the mind space I was in back in those days. And so for me, even though I was not one that could be an expat, I was one that could benefit from the opportunity of owning abroad, getting in on the ground floor of development, and then being able to capitalize on it from short-term rental. So after I determined that the opportunity to invest abroad and the idea of researching it was for me, I then needed to know, well, what would I invest in? What kind of opportunities were within my price range? And so essentially, I sought out to learn a little bit more about what sort of investment opportunities were abroad. And in doing so, there was a wealth of information that I could glean both on the internet as well as through relationships that I was able to garner from people who were doing the same thing, that looked like me and was in my space, and even those that were not in my space. I know that I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn girl. I grew up in a very urban environment, and everything that I have been able to accumulate, I've done so by just working a job and being a business owner. And so many of you who may say, well, this is out of my reach. I want you to rethink that, because there's so many assets that you can attach to be able to get into this market. So first, let's talk about what is available to you. That would mean that there are opportunities in various countries that, whether it be in the Caribbean or Europe or even in America, Hawaii or in St. Thomas or various other territories of the United States. And in looking at those particular territories, I wanted to see, I looked first at the US territories because I was familiar with the laws. I thought it provided me a level of protection that would make me feel comfortable for investing abroad. But I found that many of those economies were unfortunately not thriving. My family's from Barbados. And so that was naturally, instinctively, someplace I wanted to own. However, the GDP was not outperforming many of the other Caribbean destinations. And so in my research, I was able to learn that in this instance, the Dominican Republic was actually outpacing all of the other Caribbean destinations, not only in GDP, but they were outpacing them in the number of tourists that were coming into that region to actually enjoy that region. In fact, during COVID, the Dominican Republic outpaced, if you ask someone from there, they would say, what COVID? Because it provided a refuge for many people who wanted to be outdoors and did not want to be sheltered in place during the COVID term. And so as a result, those areas thrived. And the Dominican Republic, not only did I find that it was outpacing other Caribbean destinations, I found that they had a strong democratic government. It had a stable economy, beautiful beaches, beautiful people. The distance from the US to the Dominican Republic was palatable. It was no more than it would take me to get to many other American cities. And being in Atlanta, it made it very difficult, very easy, for me to be able to hop on a plane and be there in 3 hours. And so it was an attractive opportunity for me to learn more about this particular region. So, but whether it's in the Dominican Republic or any other region, you want to do your research as to what is if the economy is stable, if that government is a democratic government, if they offer different incentives for you as an American to invest in those markets. For example, in the Dominican Republic, they have something called the Comprador, that if you apply for it and afforded that, you have various tax incentives for income made in that country from tourism. So that provided for me an incentive to learn more. I also want to caution you to learn about which countries will allow you to actually own in their country as a foreign citizen, or foreign, that one that is not a resident or a citizen of that country. For example, in Mexico, while I had membership interest in various properties, I could never own there without having citizenship. In fact, at one point, and in many countries, you cannot own unless you either marry a citizen or you become a citizen. Well, in the Dominican Republic, not only do they afford you the opportunity for dual citizenship if you want to, as an American, also have Dominican citizenship, but the main thing for me is that it didn't require me to do that, that I could actually have an interest, a deeded interest in property in the Dominican Republic without being a citizen of the Dominican Republic. That meant that for 20, 30, 100, 1,000 years from now, my family could keep that asset and transfer it over and over again. And so that's one of the things you want to look at whenever you decide to invest abroad. What does that government offer you? And are there any incentives, and how stable that government is? Additionally, you want to, when you're saying what you want to invest in and where you want to invest, you want to look at whether or not the trend, just as in the US, whether the trend is that the assets are appreciating in those regions. So like in any country, there are areas where the markets are thriving and there may be areas where they're not thriving as much. And so what I found is that when you look at it, you want to determine whether or not you do your research. A lot of this information is online. And like you, I took the time to look up the market in the Dominican Republic. And while there are many tourism areas in the Dominican Republic that many people flock to, I wanted an area that was actually a market that was going to actually be an emerging market where I could get in for a reasonable amount, but that the trend was that it was appreciating in value. And what I was able to find in the Samana Bay region, in the Samana province, was that particular region had been preserved from many of the industrial and commercialization of Punta Cana and Puerto Plata and various other regions, because it was until recently as in a few decades ago, not even accessible except by boat. And so it was a fisherman's town. And when you go there, it looks like you're in the Mediterranean, because it was large. It has been largely populated by Europeans and Canadians. And it's just a well-kept secret. And so when you're looking at where to invest, you want to try to make sure that you can get in at a rate where you can benefit from the appreciation and the margins, that you're not buying at the peak of the market, and that there's an upward trend. in that region. And so that would be the, not only when you're, where you're buying. Now let's talk a little bit about what you're buying. As far as buying power, many people elect to do villas and or condominiums because it provides the quickest way for them to be able to leverage that property for short-term rental through Airbnb, Vrbo, or various other platforms. And so if you find that you have identified a property, you want to get with a reputable company, developer, or real estate company. And the thing that was really challenging for me is that while I could look on the internet, and many properties are bought on the internet, legitimately so, I just personally, as a lawyer, was more accustomed to more traditional, buy and sale agreements and closings and various other things. So it wasn't really an area that I felt admittingly comfortable in, just buying over the internet. And so one of the things that I say is know who you're investing with, and you want to research the company. One of the things about the development company that I serve as CEO is that the principals of this development company are U.S. citizens. I have been a lawyer in Atlanta, Georgia for over 3 decades. I'm entrenched in my community, my church, my sorority. I'm a former Navy JAG. You can touch and feel me, as can you, my colleagues. And so the people who have invested with us feel comfortable that you can regularly speak with us, you can talk with us, you can ask questions, you can reach out and make sure that you can follow your investment. So you don't want to just lay your money into someone else's hands that you really haven't researched or have a connection of some sort with. So look, like in this scenario with our company, look for a company that you have some comfort level that they're going to be around for a while. And so, and while you're going through, if they're building, most of the time when you're investing abroad and they're in the process of building the condominium or building the villa, you can follow that build. You may have a local agent who is entrenched in that market, and you want to stay in constant contact with them because your benchmarks for payments are usually tied to the level of construction. So as they construct, you pay. And so many individuals like that because you don't have to pay it all up front. You're paying along, which with most often the last payment being the last 40% being due once you take possession of the property. So that provides a lot of people with an opportunity to be able to invest provisionally along in installments, and that creates for some a level of comfort, not having to secure a full mortgage. What you buy and how much you buy and how much it's going to cost, it varies based on the property, just like it is in the US, based on the property, whether you're buying a lot and building later, whether like in our resort, you're on a golf course or you're in an infill, if you could see the ocean, or you're on a mountainside looking at vistas and views, whether it has a full development and master plan. For example, when I sought to purchase property originally, I was just down in Las Terrenas, Dominican Republic, looking to buy, like you, maybe a villa where I can actually stay, pull out a month a year, sporadically with my family, friends, SARS, whatever, and come back and enjoy this property and rent it out the rest of the time and have it to pay for itself. That was the scope of what I initially thought I would be invested in. And that may be the space, and likely will be the space that you're in. But one of the things I wanted to know is how vibrant was the community? Did it have activities planned? How can I ensure for myself that there were going to be opportunities for rental income, because people were going to come back again and again. A lot of times when I travel places, I don't come back several times. In Las Terrenas, I've been back even before I became an owner or had any financial interest. I would come back time and time again. It is like the Martha's Vineyard of the Dominican Republic, the Hamptons. It is laid back and beautiful and lush, and so I found myself gravitating there. And so when you decide to invest abroad, you want something where people are going to want to continue to come back. But unfortunately, many people don't travel to the same destination several times. Even when I owned a timeshare and I had a home property, I don't know that I've ever gone twice to any of them. So it was only attractive if I could move around. And many people who want to invest have a concern about, well, I'm not going to be there all the time. Why would I want to invest instead, put a flag in any particular place? And the answer there is because if you invest right, you're going to invest where there is going to be a reasons for not only yourself, but for your customers, these other tourists, to come back again and again. So you want to invest in a property that has a master plan. Our Samana Bay Resort has a master plan for an amphitheater, a sports and medical facility. It has a golf course. It has a sky lounge and pool. It is in its whale watching season, and the activities that are planned and the partnerships with all of the other corporations and golf, night golf, and various other things. Those things make it attractive for me to want to come back, but not only for me to want to come back, but for me to want to bring my colleagues and me to want to bring my families. And the next conferences my sorority have, we won't line another hotel franchise's pocket to the tune of $10 million. We will be able to have our own resort where we can actually come back to, and we could actually have a partnership with these organizations where they actually are benefited from bringing tournaments and conferences and various other things. And I could imagine a day where our Founders Week, where we have lined the halls of this particular resort with people who are all encompassing of all the things that we are, not both our organizations and it being all inclusive, and actually having the opportunity to have the community come in and actually experience the culture as opposed to just seeing the culture. And those are the kinds of things I did when I traveled. I wanted to make sure I was a part of the culture, that I could comfortably and safely interact with the locals. And that is the things that made it so attractive for me when I decided to invest in this particular property. So when you decide to invest, look for a property that people, not only just you, would want to come back time and time again, because that is your pull. That is how you're going to guarantee yourself to make residual income, because what that does is they have activities and conferences and concerts and sports and pro athletes training on off season. You'll be able to fill your villa with people who want to vacation there and want to be a part of the experience when you're not there. And so that creates a dependable source of income, stream of income for you to ensure that your villa is taking care of itself and taking care of you when you're not there, and your family as it goes along. Because additionally, not only are you making money from rentals, as you continue to have this resort continue to appreciate in value, you have an asset that's appreciating while you take down the debt. So look at not only where you're investing, but what you're investing in, and make sure it's a profitable business model. Then we talk about how am I able to invest in abroad? Because many times people say, look, they are made aware, and I'll be candid with you, a lot of the financial opportunities for you to buy a home in the United States are not afforded you as a non-resident of these foreign countries. The way typically you invest is if you find a piece of property that you want to buy, and let's say it's $200,000 and it's already built. Many times the owner or the developer is going to want that in cash. Many of us do not have $200,000 in cash just sitting around. And if you have it sitting around, then you're not doing you're not providing a good financial plan for yourself. It's because any $200,000 just sitting around is not making money for you. In fact, $200,000 sitting in most bank accounts, savings accounts, and checking accounts, they're not making money for you. It's almost embarrassing how much the bank pays you to use your money throughout the year, and they give you pennies on the dollar. I think I made 22 cents in the last quarter on one of my accounts, where the bank probably exponentially benefited from it. So my word says, I will make you a lender, not a borrower. And so I am keenly focused on the opportunity, any opportunity where we can put ourselves in position where we're not actually borrowing money. And so one of the things that I've learned is that there are so many other pockets of money, because I felt uncomfortable, as probably you would, pulling money out of the stock market. Not so much now that it's losing money. I've managed to pull myself away from that philosophy and say, look, I'm losing thousands of dollars a day as Russia and Ukraine continue to go to war, as they pull oil out of the stream of commerce. Oil prices go up, as Russia threatens nuclear catastrophe. All those things affect my stock market, and as it should, because investor confidence is down. And so I have lost exponentially, even in the recent past, from my portfolio. And had I had any foresight, I probably would have pulled out and put some money in more stable investments, maybe stocks, bonds, whatever, maybe bonds, excuse me, so that I could not have suffered such a loss. However, I'm not risk averse, so I did leave some things in the market and did not fare well. However, those minor pulls that I was able to pull out without penalty, I was able to reinvest in acquiring assets outside the country. And in doing so, even the appreciation in the value of those assets have exponentially benefited me more than I would have made in several years in the stock market. But that's my story. And so what I encourage you to do is look at where you have investments, see if it's outperforming the market. And if it's not outperforming the market, maybe you need to look at whether or not you can safely diversify these things, put them in different buckets, so that when you have a loss, you don't suffer a full catastrophic loss because everything's in one basket. And might I even recommend to you to look at maybe investing abroad. So what does that mean for you? So if in your home you have, as many of us do, thousands of dollars, the market's been great to us, the appreciation in value, your tax assessors even making money off of this presumed value in your home, but you're not, because all of your equity is sitting in your home, thousands of dollars. But until most recently, you could have pulled those resources out for pennies on a dollar. And while it's still, the interest rates have gone up to slow the market allegedly down, there are still opportunities to access this capital through HELOCs and various other things. And you say, well, why would I attach my home? If any of you experienced the downturn of the real estate market, as I did, being a massive real estate investor, I wish I had accessed those funds, because once that downturn occurred, I would have had cash to be able to buy at a lower price when the market was down, as opposed to buying at the peak of the market. And so if you have assets in your home, the interest rates that are there still usually outperform credit card and other commercial and hard money debt. And so we're in, for example, in our development, our investors who purchase land at one price have experienced more than a 40% growth in that value in 6 months, based on appraised value, based on what they could sell it for in the market right now. And so they could have, conceivably, while I would hope that they wouldn't do that, they could have conceivably taken that asset that they put $50,000 in and doubled that and just cashed in. And that certainly would have outperformed arguably most, if not all of that they would have made in the market. And if they'd kept that money in their home, arguably they weren't making any money off of that. So do look at other opportunities that you may have. There's also crowdfunding. Not only is your home an option, or moving and diversifying your portfolio and what you're investing, maybe even pulling back and not investing so much in the market, depending on your age and your strategy. Definitely talk to your fund manager. I'm not here to provide you tax advice, but there are solutions. The other way that has been amazing for our group is crowdfunding. And while you want to make sure that whenever you're doing these investment pools and these family offices and various other things, that you're following all the SEC rules, if there are any applicable rules that are in place, and you want to seek legal counsel for that. But we together are able to do so much. And one of the things I love about Black Wealth and all of the podcasts that are out there, and Killer Mike and Steve Harvey and all the other, Tyler Perry and all the others that are talking about investing and actually the power of the purse, as if we collectively come together. We can do that in our own groups. We can do that in our organizations. We can do that in our friend groups. I remember we have what we call Friend for Life group with my inner circle, and we are a bunch of powerhouse women, executives at top corporations, Fortune 500 companies, living abroad, working abroad, living and working in corporate America in the United States, most of them making $250,000 to $500,000 a year. And we would go every year to Hilton Head for our friends weekend. And we would stay in a wonderful villa or chalet there on the Hilton Head Beach or Pawleys Island or wherever we found ourselves, we would go. And we would spend several thousands of dollars, and we would come back with some wonderful pictures and great t-shirts. And one of our counterparts, one of my colleagues, one of my sister friends decided, I'm going to buy my own. I'm in a position to do that. And she did that. And she bought her own in Hilton Head. And she not only benefits from short-term income, but she pulls out a week, a year for her friends. And we pay her because we would pay someone else, but we pay her. And how much better serving is it that we have an opportunity to enrich one of our own? And yes, she gives us a discount, though whether if she did it or not, it wouldn't matter, because we are wonderfully blessed to be able to put some money in her pocket than someone else that we do not know and that does not have a vested interest in our well-being. So not only does she take care of her sister friends, she also takes care of her family. She pulls out a week. She said, you can't come during a peak season, but you can pick a week. And despite these holdbacks for herself, her family, her friends, her colleagues, she can do exponentially better in the income that she can generate there, and be able to pay for itself, provide an asset for her family. When we take trips that we would take anyway, we benefit someone that we know, and no different than if any of us do that. Now, she decided to do it in the US, and that's an option for you. But let me venture to caution you to not let go of the opportunity to learn about investing abroad, because you can get in for far less, usually 250, 300,000 in most markets, unless you're talking about something in a higher end, like in a master plan development with golf or something like that, then you're to the north of $500,000. But even that, I shared with my colleagues recently on a trip to Casa de Campo in Dominican Republic, which is one of the comparable resorts that we align ourselves with as our development company progresses. They were making $600,000 a year on their villa, and it was able to be built for about 600,000, but it's now worth $3-4 million. So now not only has this person been able to benefit $600,000 a year in passive income, they also have an asset that has appreciated several $1 million. And when they got in, my understanding, Casa de Campo, the average home was $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. With, like, for example, our development, if you're talking about a development where you're talking about a master plan and you can get in and purchase a lot and build on that lot and pull out and have something that's magnificent, that's tailor-made for you and your family for generations to come, and it still make income for you, and you could still utilize it for family reunions and conferences and various other things, and bring your own where you and your own can benefit, you're winning. And not only are you winning, if all of you got together and collectively were able to buy in, like my sister friends, we're all in a position to drop $10,000 on something to get a lot. 5 or 6 of us get together, get a lot, pay onto an investment, and build. And yes, we can build our own infrastructure. We can pull out our own weeks. We can all split proceeds. We can get together and have a cookout for homecoming. Why can't we get together and build and invest and have something that we can own from year to year and generation to generation, can enjoy one amongst each other? So that's kind of the why. That's kind of the why we do it. Not only because we can do it, if we think about how we can crowdfund, how we can, as siblings, as communities, as sororities, as fraternities, as conferences and groups, and how much power we have and how much we spend on travel and various other things. And it does not mean that you'll have to go every year to this place, but we hope that when you decide to invest abroad, you pick a place that you wouldn't mind coming back year to year, that you wouldn't mind leveraging your relationships and organizing events around the Founders Week, that you would not mind passing on from generation to generation, so that just like the Hiltons, when your children's children and their children's children come to the Founders Week, many, many years from now, they'll see your name on the marquee and not Hilton. So I just wanted to have you think outside the box, because we can do all things. And we only limit ourselves by what a vision we have for ourselves. And together, even individually, and goodness knows collectively, we can learn about investing abroad. We can know the who is you. You could do it. It is about you investing in yourself and learning and researching what opportunities there are and where's the best place for you. The what is what your financial portfolio and of your collective networks, what can you buy? One of the things, like I said, at Samana Bay Resort that we've done, we are a group of developers that have come together and have purchased land to be able to develop this 4,000-acre masterpiece. And we've managed to put together a team of professionals that have done resorts like La Cala in Fiji and Six Senses and 5-star hotel resorts. You get the best because you want the best, because you want this particular property to rival all the others. And you can do it if you work together. And so while we talk about the who being you, the what being what you're able to manage through your creative financing, through learning about what you do have access to, from your portfolio to your home, to your savings, to the ability to have developer financing. All those opportunities are available. So don't say you can't do it. Any of us can do it. And you say, what you think that is, when you say, oh, any of us can do it, she would say that. No, I am no different from you, and you are no different from me. And you shortchange yourself when you do not at least look into the opportunity. And as far as why you would do it, is because it creates generational wealth. You're traveling anyway. You remember that timeshare presentation you went to just to get a free weekend or a free week somewhere, and they told you you're traveling anyway. Why don't you buy this? And now you and your family can have wonderful vacations. But what they didn't tell you is that you don't own it outright. You can't sell it when you get ready to sell it. You have to continue to write a check for them. This is not that. You want an opportunity when you decide to invest, that it is in the right place with a stable economy that welcomes you to own outright, not being a citizen of that country, and that offers you tax incentives that will allow you residual passive income, whether you're there or not, is able to make money for you because it's appreciating in value, and because the economy and the market and the tourism they're bringing people to that region over and over again, so that you can continue to make money. And what I would like to say to you today is, there are so many reasons why to invest. Stop focusing on the reasons why not. Look into it. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. And I am super, super excited to be the one to tell you, let's start it today. Let's get together and figure out how we can own abroad, and how we can and I haven't even gotten to how you will enjoy the opportunity to have vacations and make memories, enjoy beaches and all sorts of things, and how much pride you will have in saying, I own here. And and I cannot tell you how much that means for me, how prideful that makes me, and how I love being able to take my mom there and having her to experience it with me. And I want to experience it with you. I want to learn about your stories and how you have been able to think outside of the box, and how you have been able to glean from what I've told you, and develop a strategy for yourself that's not your grandmother's investment strategy. So I look to hear from you. I'm super excited for what is to come for you and for all of us. And I thank you for this time and the opportunity to speak with you about investing abroad. And for now, I yield my mic.